What's going on, everybody? I'm Brian Lambert, your host for tonight. This is Broadcasts from the Dispatch.
If you got a story and you want the world to know it, if you think you ready and you ain't afraid to show it, throw your hands up high, yeah, we might stand out. We always representing cause that's what it's all about. We always representing cause that's what it's all about. And if you love some indie comics, let me hear you shout. Like, just stay tuned, what's the story? Had to get that every time a brand new indie comic from the Dispatch.
Back again with another one. This time, Brett left me to my own devices, so you guys got to deal with me for as long as I can keep this running. Thank you guys for joining Broadcasts from the Dispatch. I would say it's from an undisclosed location, but everybody knows I'm a Cali boy, so it is what it is. I've got a really, really great panel today, one that I'm very excited for personally, something that I've wanted to do for a while. We've got a bunch of great creators on here and people who have built publishing companies from the ground up and are actively doing it now. So I can't wait to honestly get into this conversation with them. But before I do that, I want to first say that Indie Comics Dispatch and Broadcast from the Dispatch is brought to you in part by Comics Wellspring. I print some of my short runs with them, so I have personal experience and personal knowledge of their quality and their skill level. They are amazing. Like I said, they sponsor Indie Comics Dispatch, and they've just been a really great resource for comic creators and platforms like this. So again, if you have some printing needs, if you have questions, go check out their site. There is more than enough for you to learn from and for you to utilize. I also want to say thank you to our patrons. We are definitely trying to continue to grow our Patreon. You get some exclusives, some behind the scenes, some interviews, tips. You get a bunch of things for just, I think it's $5, starting at $5 a month, which is obviously nothing. That's not even, at this point, that's not even a cup of Starbucks, man. I don't know what you guys drink, but mine is like $7 off top. Again, California, it is what it is. But our patrons, I want to say thank you to Ben O'Grady, Paranoid American, John Constant, Brandon DePillis, Celeste Cornish, Alec, Jason Levichin, Brandon Foster, Aaron Guzman, Quentin Rushing, and Dan Schmidt. Thank you guys. Without you, we could not do some of the things we do. Obviously, as Brett always talks about, we're very proud to be a 501(c), which means we're a nonprofit, which also means that your contribution to Patreon is a tax write-off at the end of the year. But without further ado, I would like to introduce some people. So when I first had this idea for a panel, I reached out to a few people I know in the industry, and Morgan Iverson himself was basically like, "Help, Brian, save me, bring me on your show." And so, I mean, I just did it because I couldn't just leave him alone like that. No, to be real, we have the guys from Top 5 Live, which is Morgan Iverson, Danny J. Quick, and Javon Stokes. I'm introducing them together for this moment only because today would have been their 50th show. They forego that show just to be here, just so they could share tips with you guys and share their journey and to be with me. So obviously it's very important to me. It's very special, and I really appreciate these guys. Even though we joke and we go back and forth, it's a really great group. Top 5 Live, if they hadn't been here, I would have been on their show making fun of them or trying to troll them in the comments. So I love these guys. And to start, Morgan Iverson is the creator of Lumberjacks. in Harlem's Renaissance. He's a writer, voice actor, and co-creator of the Fourth Wall Comics and audio podcast universe. So welcome, Morgan. How you doing, sir? Glad to have you here. He's on mute, so he's muted. He don't know what he's doing.
I'm doing good. You know what I'm saying? You lying already, but I'm going to let you live. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I'll let you get your whole vibes off. And I'm going to circle back to it, though.
I knew you weren't going to let me have that one. Next, we got Danny J. Quick. He's a co-creator of Ace Blade and King Supreme, writer, graphic designer, letterer, scholar. He's also an alumni, Full Sail, so we're fellow alumni. So I got to shout that out because we look after our own and definitely take care of each other. He's a gentleman from Fourth Wall Productions in North Carolina. Danny, welcome to the stream, sir.
It's your boy. Yeah, I personally witnessed that conversation. Morgan was begging to come on out, so I'll back you up on that.
Oh man, for all your story writers out there, describe that look on Morgan's face, and that is the look of betrayal. Your novel will never fail if you put that in there. I promise you.
What in God's name is happening?
Hey man, whatever sells, right? Next, the last member, the final member of the Top 5 Live Nation here. We got Javon Stokes. He's a writer, traditional and digital artist, graphic designer, and owner of Visually Stoked Media out of Connecticut. He's a creator of Heat and Strong, as well as a host of a Stoked podcast. You see what he did there? What's going on, Javon? How you doing, bro?
What's good? You saved the best for last and the person with the most common sense of the three of us. So, I appreciate you.
Oh, I'm going to actually go with the common sense thing. He can at least tell time, at the very least.
Hey, listen, man. It's not hard, man. It ain't really hard. It's not.
Right. And CC, Danny's printing with CWS. Like I said, they're great guys, right?
Do that?
I could go get my copy.
Okay, we're doing it. See?
We doing that?
I was going to say I can go get my comments, but Danny
doing that? We doing that? Is that what we doing?
Nice. All right, our next gentleman is, I'd like to say at this point, he kind of needs no introduction, but he's hit this comic scene fairly hard, man. He's got what I don't know if we call him a viral hit or how we do that at this point, but definitely he struck fire with one of his latest titles, The Antagonist. It is blown up. It's doing really big things in Hollywood and abroad, so we got to give him props for that. Tyler Martin is a comic book writer, publisher, editor, and producer based in Atlanta, Georgia. He's an avid Star Wars fan, self-proclaimed blurred, and a lover of all things comics. He's most notable for founding Godhood Comics. It's an Atlanta-based company and one of the fastest-growing Black-owned independent comic publishers in the U.S. Godhood was founded and designed to highlight diversity in comics by focusing on telling stories centered around BIPOC characters and concepts. Creator of titles such as Mega Woman, Sharpshooter, Galactic Patrol Delta, and extremely popular Antagonist series, he retired from a decade-long stint in education in 2018. He was unable to fully dive into writing and running Godhood Comics, having his work featured in several popular sites and forums like Looper, CBR, Deadline, Bleeding Cool, Afropunk, Black Girl Nerds, Black Sci-Fi, Indie Comics Dispatch, Head Nerds in Charge, and Graphic Policy. Tyler's attention to detail and tenacity, style, storytelling, and marketing expertise have earned him the much respect within the comic book community. A smitten for community and education, he currently teaches lessons on comic book creation and dozens of creators through Godhood Comics Schoolhouse initiatives, which gives creators the tools, resources, and contacts they need to be successful. Tyler hopes that his journey can inspire new creators to take those first steps toward the rest of their lives. Tyler hopes to continue to grow his brand as a storyteller and plans to segue into Hollywood. Also, I want to remind you guys that was Tyler's short bio. So, you know what I mean? Take it easy on your boy.
Let me send you the rest of mine.
Welcome, Tyler.
First of all, he was not supposed to read all of that. He just asked for a
Man,
bio.
you asked for your bio, man. Hold on. Let me go copy paste.
Let me go my camera off real quick. I gotta go talk to somebody real quick.
I gotta put my long bio, man. That ain't even fair, man.
I was gonna let him live, right? Because I had said short bio, and then I respond, earlier today, I was like bio. He said the whole thing, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be hilarious. Especially when I saw the 2 lines. I was like, nah, we doing the whole damn thing. I'm chopping it.
I was going to be like, y'all didn't even introduce me to the man, but I feel like I know you now.
Right.
I was like, y'all could have took a bathroom break at that point.
I thought about it.
Jesus.
All right. Do I have to pee? I'm
Right. I should have
go get some dinner.
like the Snyder cut. That's part 1.
Right.
Hey, look, my dude deserve all that, bro. You
Right.
deserve the full readout, bro.
Right.
You proud of yourself. You proud of
Thanks,
yourself.
fellas. Thanks, fellas. Your bio sounds good until it's read out loud. I'm just throwing that
All right. And last but not least, on the panel in its entirety, I have. This is actually again. This whole panel structure is very important personally to me, but this is also the first time that this creator and I have been on camera, interview, blah blah blah, in like 2 years, 2 years plus maybe. So this is a very special homecoming for me, and I want to introduce Lonzo Starr. Who was born in Philadelphia. He was raised in the small town of Lansdowne. So I know him as Derek Allen. Y'all know him as Lonzo Starr. He's had no lack of inspiration growing up. He started with his parents who encouraged his animation to flourish. He was also able to look at iconic Philly personalities for encouragement. He's the founder, CEO of Concrete Comics. He's always thought the good storytelling never goes out of style. He's the writer and creator of Acolyte. He helps to inspire the dreams of others to do something extraordinary. In 2020, Acolyte issue #1 was nominated for 5 Glyph Awards, including Best Writer and Best Male Character. In 2021, Acolyte won for, correct me if I'm wrong, Lonzo, but it won for Best Cover, and Concrete Comic won a total of 2 Glyph Awards. Invited to the stream now is Lonzo. What's going on, bro?
Yes, sir. What up, y'all? I mean, I see the beards in the building.
Okay.
Hey, T-Rob.
Okay.
Hey, man. You see how we listen,
I see you banging over there, man. You know what I mean?
Killing it.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all, man, for real, man. It's nice to see all you lovely faces in here, man.
What's up, brother?
Yeah.
It's a pleasure meeting you. I don't think I've ever spoken to you before, man. I think I talked to you on Facebook, though.
You know what? You the one I thought was Uncle Luke, right?
Oh,
that's
okay. Damn, we just coming out the gate.
First of all, we gotta correct it because Lonzo don't let people talk to him directly. You know what I'm saying? He got go-betweens for that.
Oh, he got.
I mean,
he's now.
He sent his goons down. He sent his goons down the heroes kind.
Oh man.
He
man.
didn't even come down. He sent the representatives. I was like, all right, cool, man.
Big Tuna back in the building. Okay.
Listen, I had to do it, man. What's going on with you, Mr. Lambert?
Man, every day is a good day. You know what I mean? Always making progress, always moving forward. As I see we all are. So obviously that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you guys on. But I also wanted to have you guys on because you're all at different spaces in the publishing journey. Tyler is optioning for TV right now. I believe you said you were even out here in LA, out this way, which obviously means business deals because LA is always, business. I know Danny he's got Fourth Wall Productions. He's got the store open and moving that, doing some stuff with the studio. Lonzo, I saw a picture and I don't know if it's just rumors now, but I hear you're about to maybe transition in having a store. Javon, obviously you're very well associated with Fourth Wall, but you're not a part of Fourth Wall. So I think that, and Morgan is a part of Fourth Wall and started as a novelist. So I feel like everybody's on very, very different parts of this journey, but all have been successful to varying degrees. So I think it's important to kind of get this dialogue going. And like we've all kind of said in our bios, and especially in Tyler's long ass bio, we want to inspire some other people and teach them kind of, the ways and what we're doing. So I guess, so I'll go from my top, left to right or whatever. Morgan, what got you started on your publishing journey?
Danny. Danny, bro. I when he got back from Iraq, so we tell people this often at the cons. Like I met Danny's wife before I met him because he was deployed to Iraq at the time, and we were going to church together. I met Danny when he came back home, and he wrote a novel. He wrote the Ace Blade novel. That's the first thing ever came out from Fourth Wall. So I had been working on something personally that I hadn't shown anybody, but when I saw he published a novel, I was like, "Yo, can you read this and see if it's trash?" You know what I'm saying, or whatever. I be trying to cut straight to the chase. You know what I'm saying. So like, can you read this and tell me if it's trash? He read it and he liked it. He was like, "Yo, I want you to, you know what I'm saying, come on and try to start up a comic universe." And I was like, no, I'm trying to curtail my words so I'm not saying things that I shouldn't. But I was like, nah, I'm good, you know what I'm saying, or whatever at first. But then over time, I started getting ideas, you know what I'm saying, walk through the script process, and then everything else kind of grew from there. But the initial, I was writing on my own, but the initial inspiration to do it was from Danny, you know what I'm saying, when he did the novel, and then we just grew the universe over time.
Nice, nice. Now, real quick before Danny, I get to you, and I apologize for cutting you off, but getting into this myself, man, I missed a bunch of comments from a bunch of people, which some of them I know are Danny because it just says Facebook user, and I know Danny be trolling himself, so I'm not stupid,
All sense.
right? That's definitely him. But I want to send. Okay, there's a special one here, and this again, these shows have a little bit of gravity for me. So Manuel Godoy says, "Who's winning today?" And so obviously we probably all have either interacted, talked to him, whatever else, and it's actually pretty dope to see the support from people that are on different publishing journeys and different entertainment journeys than you. Manuel is obviously part of BSP, Black Sands Entertainment, and he's doing his thing over there. He's got obviously that landmark deal with Shark Tank with Kevin Hart, and the animation, We Funded, his whole deal going. So it's actually dope when people come back and they can just shout us out and we can shout them out, regardless of, again, where we are on our particular publishing journey. So I want to make sure that I shout him out like that, as well as everybody else. Kyron is in here. What's going on, Kyron? Alec, no, Tyler did not let me miss anything. I have only thing I don't know is Tyler's blood type at this point. And we're gonna have that before the end of the show, y'all.
Be positive, be positive.
See, like I said, before the end of the show, bro, we got it now. We got it. Waiting for the movie to come out. Q wants that. Q's probably gonna be front row. He's gonna be the only person in an antagonist, grown man in an antagonist cosplay, just off the rip, waiting for
I'm
you.
working on mine too. I'm working on my cosplay.
All right, man. What else we got? We got Ryan. Oh, Ryan Robinson, who just finished, what is it? Shadows of the Ancient, right? With Moana? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they're working on another one. I know they got the coloring book coming out. Hey, Tyler, I feel like you may not have the time, CEO, but everybody wants to buy it from you now, bro.
It's the bio. I'm like, God, please.
Yeah, man.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You know what? I'm cutting that thing down as soon as we get off this.
Hey, I know an editor or two if you need the assistance. You know what I'm saying? I don't, I know a guy who along with Concrete Comics, was nominated for some Glyph Awards for his editing work. I just by the by.
Send them my way. Send them my way for sure.
Okay, cool. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, there you
go. Context clues.
I'm gonna slide into your DM.
All right, Danny. So getting back to what brought you into this publishing journey, sir?
Yeah, it was kind of similar. I think I always grew up loving comics or loving comic book characters. I didn't read comics growing up. But I watched every cartoon, whether it was Batman and Superman or Spider-Man, Ninja Turtles, whatever. And then, like Morgan said, I got deployed to Iraq, and while I was out there, me and another guy, we were always discussing characters that we wish we created. When I got back from Iraq, we went to my first comic book convention and realized that it was regular people there, like it's regular people making comics. Like everybody didn't work for Marvel and DC. And it literally kind of like opened a door in my brain that said, "Oh, this is a possibility. This is something you can do." So, at that moment, it was kind of like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And from there, it was just learning literally everything from how to write comics to the format and literally all of that. So, literally started from under the bottom, and and
now you're here.
And now we're here. So.
To quote the light-skinned wonder.
Trink. Oh, wow. Already.
Yeah. Javon, what about you, sir?
Mine's is a little. I'll try and keep it short.
Apparently, we don't do that here. I don't know if we.
Wait, time out. Morgan is not talking. Morgan is not talking to nobody about keeping nothing short.
I shortened mine, sir.
Morgan, you ain't talking to nobody.
I shortened it though.
You already making it long. So I gotta deal with it. Yeah. So I initially I've been reading comics my entire life, and I've always wanted to do comics. And then a few years ago, like 2006, I decided I'm gonna do a comic book, and I did it, and like it was terrible, and it kind of failed spectacularly. But then I ended up going back to school and getting my degree in 3D animation. I came home, tried to get a job in the field, and it didn't quite work. And I was very close to. I had just proposed to my now wife, and I kind of said I was sitting in my apartment, and I said, you know, if I'm going to do this comic thing, I need to do it now because, you know, once you become a husband and father and everything, that just can take over everything. So I just sat down, came up with the character. It was actually an old character I repurposed, and I just kind of did my research on it, and I kind of made the decision. I don't need Marvel. I can print this thing and I can publish it myself and just get it out there. And I've been doing it ever since, for the most part.
Nice. Tyler, what about you, sir?
Yeah, man. Well, for the most part, I had been kind of drawing and creating characters since like kindergarten. I remember my dad was an alcoholic, and so I remember just like to Danny's point, just watching cartoons and reading comic books as a way to like escape my reality, right? If this reality wasn't going good, I could just open an X-Men comic book or just something like that and delve into it, and it just became my lifeblood. So we all as kids, we're even if we don't remember, we were writing and creating, right? And so back in 2016, man, I discovered that online community. I was teaching education, miserable. I discovered that online community, with Danny, with Morgan, with Lonzo, and I was like, dang, people are doing this stuff. I don't need to do this. I can create my own characters. And went to my first convention. I remember the first convention I went to was OnyxCon, and I was completely blown away. Didn't know that this was actually a thing. And man, I took all the characters I ever created, put them up, and just started to get to work, man. I haven't turned back since. It's just like, you cut me open, I'm bleeding comics, bro.
Nice. And last, again, but certainly not least, Lonzo, what brought you in? So I know a little bit of backstory. I know that you come from a music publishing background, which is a different type of publishing. So what sparked the transition to this type of publishing?
So it's kind of funny, man. I think subconsciously I knew I was getting into this business without knowing it. Because in around 2014, I started changing the music I was making to more so reflect who I was, and a lot more nerdy lyrics started coming out. A lot more of my movie references started coming into my songs. And I made this song called Clark Kent. And to do my promo, I said, well, why don't I check out a Comic-Con? Like, I've never been to one. I never did anything. This was in 2016, so I went to this Comic-Con, and like, that's where the love for comics all came back. I always loved comics, but during that your 16 to 24 age, I wasn't reading no comics. You know what I mean? I was out in the club, right? But I kind of fell back in love with it, and I decided to just try to write my own story. It started off as a TV script, and then I said, man, that's a little too expensive, so I'm gonna try a comic instead. And I just started researching because I didn't know anything about the indie. I didn't know anything about the indie comic universe before 2016. Until I got on Facebook and I just started seeing all you guys on there making comics. I said, who was it? Powerverse and all them people like that. And that's what really opened my eyes to this regular people making comics. And I decided to just give it a try, man. And I was thinking back of like my whole life, so it just came out the way it did, man. And that's what it was.
Nice. So
now Alonzo said he wasn't reading comics because he was in the club. I was reading comics and I was in the club. I was reading comics while I was in the club. You know what I mean?
Right. We're in the club at 14.
Bro, that's called the bookstore. It's called Barnes and Noble.
That is dedication.
I ain't gonna lie, man. Here in Philly, there's some clubs that's like 16 to get in type clubs, man. So it gets
Atlanta too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
not in Connecticut.
I wasn't doing any of that.
The ones in my part of North Carolina, if I go to, it ain't gonna be right. So,
man, it's gonna be quiet.
I mean, I went to A&T, and there's a high school down the street from A&T called Dudley that we had gym jams and stuff like that. Them high school girls would be right in there, and you keep play if you want to. You be in some breaks. Just telling you, bro.
Yeah.
Danny Morgan out there carding girls like that.
Right, right.
100%.
Let me see that ID.
So we got a question from GC 2001. New to the channel and wanted to see some work that we can look out for everyone from. So again, all of these gentlemen are creators. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, as we kind of go around, I'm going to put everybody's links up. Like we said, Morgan and Danny are part of Fourth Wall Universe. Theirs is the same. We've got Concrete Comics, we've got Godhood Comics, and we've got Visually Stoked Media. So everybody's got their shine. Everybody's got some materials to give you guys. Oh, don't forget, I can't forget about myself. Wingless Comics, Wingless Entertainment. We are in there as much and as often as we can be. I also want to say that doing part to Lonzo, right? Like I had started my comic book journey before Lonzo and I talked, but I was writing with someone, and we were doing the collaborative thing, right? And those rarely work out unless you guys are both really dedicated. And Lonzo hit me up, not even like on a DM one time. I had said something. It was like something about Star Wars or something off brand, and he was like, "What you know about Star Wars?" And anybody who knows me knows I don't like a challenge. So like I went in or whatever, and he went right back at me. It was actually pretty, like, again, that was kind of hilarious. It's like, that's how I started this next level of this comic journey. Cause I was like, did he just challenge me on what I know? And then it struck up some pretty good conversations and some pretty good back and forths. Like I said, anybody who knows me knows I'm gonna have a back and forth going.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's a glorious.
Right. So the next thing I want to do really quickly, because I know it's a bunch of us and we run short on time. What's one piece of literal advice, like actionable advice, somebody could go out to today that has helped you specifically in your publishing journey and building what you're building? We'll start with Danny. We'll start with Morgan, Danny, then Javon, then Tyler, then Lonzo again.
I think the biggest advice I would give people is to build genuine relationships within the community. Not, DMing people so you can try to, get up on something or whatever. But if you really want to know something, you want to see how, something's done, or, have insight, like build a genuine relationship with people. Like that's one of the biggest things that has helped me a lot, and especially when it comes time to start fundraising, doing Kickstarters and things like that. If you build that community early, then you always have a community that's going to back you. Like we back one another in the community, especially once you get into that space, we back one another immediately. Everybody on this panel, you put something up, it's over. We in there, automatically. So I would say building those genuine relationships is huge when you start.
Do you know how much I hate when I get that random person that'll comment out of all your 10,000 people? You put up a picture, you got all the artists tagged, whatever else you got going, and somebody's like, "Oh yeah, that looks cool. Who's the artist?" Bro, I don't even know you. It drives me. I don't mind. I want my artists to get work. I want them to eat, because it's not like I got them on exclusive contract. But if the first thing you say to me is like some compliment so that you can get to the same place I am super quickly, bro, that's the easiest way for me to be like, nah, I'm not telling you nothing.
I'm trying to. I have too many examples to go into it without seeming really mean. So I'm gonna leave it at what I said, and like genuine relationships, bro. Like and that's another thing I tell you in the industry. People know when you on some BS and when you're not. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Another thing that I'm very happy about, especially with the people in this panel. We know when you BSing, bro. Like me and Dan, don't get it twisted. Me and Danny will quickly be like, click, click. Like you'll get blocked.
Yeah.
You will get blocked. So
yeah. Danny?
That's all you need to say right there, Morgan.
I was gonna say you kept it short.
There it is.
Hold on, sir. I'm gonna let you live.
My one piece of actionable advice I would say is get an editor who thinks differently than you do. And I went a long time without an editor for Ace Blade specifically. But with King Supreme, me and Wally, we think differently. So we always, bounce ideas off of it, and we can find out what works. Me and Morgan, we kind of edit each other's stuff. So we found out what works. But with Ace Blade, I didn't have anybody. But now I got me an editor, you know, for Ace Blade, Mr.
Don't say it.
Brian Julius Lambert.
Julius? we just throwing random names out there. Okay.
He almost called you Jehovah.
Do not do that.
Brian
Right.
Jehovah Lambert. That's Danny. That's the level Danny goes to.
But I don't, you know, and you never know if maybe they just hate your stuff. But you know, they'll if you get somebody who thinks differently than you, then at least they can point out the things that don't make sense. Or you know, they can just be a hater like Brian is, and that just makes it, you know, even better for you.
Hey, this hater keeps pushing everybody, you know what I'm saying? Cream rises to the top, bro. You got to beat it down so then it can rise. You know what I'm saying? You're welcome. You're welcome.
You're showing way too much age. Don't ever do that again.
I did it. I did it on purpose too. I did it. I'm doing it. I did it. I
You
did
did it
it
like 3 times.
Yeah, I'll do it for.
You didn't even do it up high. Like you didn't even do it here. You were like this.
Run across my room like Ultimate Warrior. I'm not raising the roof, bro. This is Ultimate Warrior. Like this is push press. I will do it again.
Let
I'll
me see that
continue
black
to.
card for a little bit, bro. Let me hold it.
Wait a minute. You said you didn't like Ultimate Warrior? You saying we ain't WWF in this house? Because okay, cool. Because
I didn't say that.
Danny, Morgan almost messed around and got kicked off the show.
Good.
Say something bad about Ultimate Warrior, bro. Just go ahead.
Morgan's good for blocking people off the show. He can get it sometimes too.
Morgan's also used to being kicked off stuff. Like Facebook done kicked him off.
Yeah.
He's about to break a record.
Stay in jail. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
No one asked.
Yeah.
Tony Clapper's in here. What's going on, Tony? What's going on, man?
Tony, what's up?
The master.
Javon, it's on you, bro. What's one piece of real actionable advice somebody can put into work right now?
So I'll give the piece of advice that I saw while I was watching a documentary with Todd McFarlane. And he basically was like, find one character or one story and do that to the best of your ability before you try and branch out and do universes and everything. Everybody wants to have a whatever verse. Find your one character, do that really good, and make that as well known as you can possibly make it.
Smart. I love to hear it. What you got for us, Tyler?
Man, I always say just to start, right? So many people get caught up, especially new creators, and I think even us at one point, especially me. My biggest regret was not starting when I knew I should have started. And what I mean by starting is not necessarily knowing how to write a script, but writing something, right? Or not knowing how to design a character, but sketching something out. You know, just starting it and putting that your ideas to paper, and just get that ball rolling. The other stuff will come. Like all of us, when we first started, we learned everything on the way. I mean, that's the best way to learn. And so when I get emails, man, from people and they're like, you know, I've been doing this. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. And you just gotta, we're in the information age, man. You just gotta write. One of my mentors, my editor, he told me, he said, write like you're drunk and then edit like you're sober. Right. So just start writing. I don't care if it's words, just write. So that's my advice. Start now, today.
Lonzo?
I would say be very mindful of who you take advice from, and be patient as well. You know what I mean? There's no rush to this thing. When you start, that's when you start, but you got all the time in the world before you come out. No one knows you're working on what you're working on. Just take your time, make sure you feel comfortable before you step out into the world, because once it's out there, the street's gonna tear your ass up, man. You know what I'm saying? So make sure Make sure you write before you come out, man, and don't be afraid to ask people, but know how to ask people. Don't just come in there deboning people's DMs with how do you do this? Like learn to study by watching as well. Most of what I learned, I watched people do it. I looked at other publishers and how they were moving, and I just took that and molded into my own. So learn how to study from afar and be patient.
That's
Master Yoda.
Great. That's great advice, because a lot of dudes don't care about the craft of making comic books, man. They just trying to throw everything together, and there's a skill to this, man. There's a talent that's involved, and just with crafting the story, pacing on art, everything, man. So I'm right there with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna say one thing that's very important that gets overlooked, and it has to do with kind of with the craft of comic books. Know the difference, right? If you're getting into comic books, get into comic books. Don't get into comic books so that you can get into movies. That's not the gateway. I know we've seen Marvel do it, but again, that's Marvel. They've got 50 plus years of business acumen, and then comic acumen and story writing acumen. And then they can hire people who are not comic book writers, who are movie writers, to adapt things. If you're getting into it because you're like, I want my property to blow up. Look at who is it, Royer, right? From Unique Studios. They're developing an animation based on the Yanu. That's 15 years in the making, though. We get a lot of people that come.
Yes.
We get a lot of people that come in. Exactly. People come in and they think that, oh yeah, man, my idea is so dope that I'm gonna go ahead and do this right now. It's gonna happen tomorrow. It's just not the way that things go, right? Like, it takes so much time. Some of the biggest movies that you've ever seen have taken 10, 15 years to even get made. So to really think that you're gonna come in with a property that no one knows, right? I could be talking about Justice. I could be talking about Wingless Comics. Nobody knows Wingless Comics. Yeah, some people buy it, but on the grand scale, who knows it? Nobody. And for me to think that tomorrow it's going to be a movie and on and on and on is foolish. Like, you got to do your research. I think everything you guys said, obviously, I agree with, and we've all learned from each other. But it's all these little pieces that create like an ongoing legacy for yourself and for your company. So,
can I add one more?
Oh, go ahead, bro.
Don't be a jerk.
Wait a minute. You say that to comic creators?
Dead serious.
No, shit.
I'm being real, because that's the easiest way to A, not have nobody buy your stuff, B, nobody want to hire you, and C, find your way outside of the industry.
Yeah.
Now, just because there are some creators that are jerks, that don't mean that you could be a jerk.
Yeah.
Full facts.
Yeah, that really goes back to Morgan talking about making like those honest, you know what I mean, like those networking opportunities and those real connections, right? You can't be the firebrand every time.
This is what I wish I would have said. Before you are a creator, you need to be a supporter, right? Mm-hmm. So you get people. I know a lot of us get questions about Kickstarter all the time, right? From people, how can we do this on Kickstarter? How can we do this? Everybody wants to drop a Kickstarter, and then they don't have the following, they didn't put the time in. Like, it's not time for you to be Kickstarter. Nor have you backed any other campaigns, right? Because that's your lesson right there. I always tell people, if you want to have a successful Kickstarter, you should have backed successful Kickstarters. Then you can go back and look at those campaigns, because the proof is in the pudding. It's all right there on that page. And you have to, especially in our community, this is a very large community, but it's also a very small community, right? And so we know, guys, we know. And so I always say, you have to support first. You have to support first. And then, Brian, what I was going to say before I was so rudely interrupted by Devon.
I know, right?
Wow. To piggyback on what you said.
Hey, y'all coming for me today. Okay, I got let me sharpen my sword. I was trying to be nice tonight. All right. Y'all can get top five, Javon. Y'all can get
this our first time meeting face to face, but we know each other,
Yeah, and, we good.
People always say they be like, oh man, I want this adapting to this. We have people, we're seeing a celebrity right now. I mean, no shade, but Keanu Reeves, he did that comic book just so it could be picked up as a movie, right? Yeah. And it's a nice book. I love the book. It's a good concept. But I tell people all the time, he can do that, right?
He's Keanu Reeves, though.
Yeah, he's Keanu Reeves. He can do that. If you're getting into comics to strictly get it adapted, you have already fucked up. Excuse my language. I don't know if it's like that.
No, you're good.
You have already messed up. Because all of us on this panel have put in years and years and years and years of work. Just because we're not, this shit don't make us rich. We do it because we love to do it. And if you, I lucked out. We had a good team. I had a good experience. But if you're doing it for that, man, you messed up already.
Yeah, also, I want to say, sorry, real quick, Lonzo. I want to say in Javon's defense, he cut you off because he was taking back the time you took out the bio. So he needed his, he was reclaiming his time. You know what I'm saying? So, now, what you got, Lonzo?
No, I was just gonna tap back in with the, just the thought of, some of them questions that we get for people wanting to know how to do a Kickstarter, how to be successful. And I'm sure when I first did my Kickstarter, Brian was with me, and we before we even entertained doing a Kickstarter, right? We studied all the bad Kickstarters that didn't succeed. That's what we studied, not the ones that succeeded. We wanted to know why did they fail. You know what I'm saying? And before we went there, like the whole team, man, we were up all night, nervous as hell on that first Kickstarter. I'm sure the
Bruh.
On that first Kickstarter, man, your heart is going crazy, right? And but yeah, it's just like people gotta really be humble, man. Like Kickstarter ain't no joke, man. It's just nothing. It's nothing you just throw in and just think you just gonna make, you know what I'm saying, $1 million. Like you really gotta work. Like we didn't see no support on our first Kickstarter before we launched. And we didn't realize we had support until after we launched. We're like, damn, so all that promo we was doing actually worked. So people just gotta be patient, man.
And you're fighting against the algorithm now. I feel like, well, we launched that two and a half years ago or more now, right, Lonzo? So the algorithm was a lot nicer at that point. You could be in groups. People was gonna see your group posts. People could see your art everywhere. Now, if you're not paying for advertisement, the algorithm is not messing with you. It doesn't like I don't care what nobody said. Oh, nobody gets shadow banned. Blah blah blah. Stop it. We've all seen our posts go from 300 and 400 likes one week to the next week 7, right? Like every one of us. So yeah, when you're doing this again, this is a business venture as much as it's a dream, right? And so I know that you guys have gotten the same thing I have, where somebody will just jump in the DMs. How do I make a comic book? Not like how do I find an editor? Could you help me find an artist? Hey, I have an idea. How do I make a comic book? Don't come at a creator like that, right? Because that is an insult to the hours that they've put in, that we've put in, that you've put in terms of trying to learn this and making the mistakes and having unsuccessful Kickstarters or having them dips where, hey, the goal is 2,500 and you at 24 and you got a couple hours to go. You know what I mean? Like we've had to do all of this, and so there's a certain amount of, I guess, respect and like maturation that goes into this process that's super important.
Man, me and Danny literally did a skit on this, like of people being like, we get hit up on a regular basis, like in our inbox, and be like, yo, I got this dope idea for a comic, blah 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 blah. What do I need to do? Write it. It goes back to what Tyler said, what I'm saying? Be like, write it. And they'd be like, yeah, like we literally, I can't, when did we do, I don't remember if we did it during the last Lumberjacks campaign or not, but like that Tyler's 100% right. The hardest part is starting, you know what I'm saying? Like actually doing it, and it doesn't matter whether it's in the right format or not in the beginning. That doesn't matter. It just because one of the biggest things, like me and Danny love writing together. We write our stuff individually, we write some things together. But one of the best things that helps your process, and me and Tyler have talked about this, because Tyler does really good, he does joints like this on Godhood and other places, and offers game. And like one of the biggest things that I've learned to enjoy doing is finding a better process for what works for you. Everybody has everybody has a different process that you go through as far as how you write. Some people, throw spaghetti against the wall, see what sticks, move stuff around, or whatever. Everybody has their own process. And the longer you do it, the better you can make it more concise and get things boiled down. But if you jump in somebody's DMs, like Lonzo was talking about, if you jump in somebody's DMs and there's no prior relationship, at least be humble, bro. Right. At least, especially if you coming for, because like Tyler, I was going to say earlier, Tyler said he lucked up. You ain't luck up, bro. You put in the work, and it got blessed because it was worthy of it. I told you from the moment that you told me about the antagonist idea, I said, that's it.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah.
I'm trying to not say words that are gonna get me banned, because I always get banned.
Hey, you on my account this time, so you should be fine, right? Like you good.
No,
they can't ban you from my account.
Get banned. Morgan get banned on anybody.
Get you banned. I get banned anywhere.
You get banned on anybody.
They said Morgan gets you banned. Yeah. I appreciate that, man.
It'll happen. Nah, yeah, I'm serious. Like some things are gonna pop, and I knew from just the concept alone. But I said that to say, like, you see where Tyler's going and what he has going on. So now you have, and Tyler's very humble in already putting game out there. He's got ways for you to be able to get game from him and learn from what the mistakes that he made in the beginning, the things that he got right in the beginning. Like, he put all that out there. But if you jump in his DMs and you on some, yo, I got a dope comic, when you gonna let me write with you? You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. That's, bro, you know what I'm saying? Just because you see where he is, come on, bro.
And I always say, because we all get those DMs, right? You know how many DMs I have not answered just because of that. And the ones I typically go to, these are the kind of DMs I love from new creators or supporters. They'll start with, man, love your work. Where can I get it? Right? Mm-hmm. And so, giving you not even admiring us, but admiring the work, mm-hmm. and then saying, so one guy, and we his name is Frederick Littles, and he's actually he's running a Kickstarter right now. And we opened the submissions at God Comics, and we picked up his book. He's the first book. Got like 60 submissions, and he's the first book we picked up.
Is that the Magnus one, bro?
Magnus, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. Okay, I've seen that.
That looks good, bro. It looks really good.
And when he first he DM'd, he said, "Yo, man, love your work. Where can I get it? I'm a creator, and I just love what you do." Man, when I tell you, we got on call and we just was talking for hours and hours and hours. And this guy took, and I've never seen somebody like this. This guy took everything that we talked about and built the Magnus, like just did it. Didn't care about any of the logistics and any of the, the check boxes. And he did it, man. And those are kind of DMs, and those are kind of new creators that you want to see who have the passion, guys, because it's a passion project. This is a passion. Brian, you said earlier it was part business and part dream, and it's more dream than business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how you guys, if you're watching, that's how you need to reach out to a creator. You need to first validate their work and ask how you can support them at that time, and then ask your questions. None of us mind. Hell, we can talk about comics for 24 hours. We don't mind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a little bit of it too is, and we talk, and I'm always going to talk about craft because I'm a big proponent of that. A lot of it sometimes, a lot of people think that they need to come in with like a 700-page graphic novel or 8-page miniseries or anything. Listen, I'll be real. When I first did Heat, I'm like, oh man, it's gonna be a monthly ongoing series. And then, man, I did that. That first book took me like 5 months to do, and I was just like, yeah, this ain't it. Let me shorten this to 3. And I think a lot of guys would do well. Find people who are doing anthologies. Mm-hmm. Do like a 5-10 page story in that. Mm-hmm. Do a 24 page book. Just that's it. Just do a start and finish story on a 24 page book. Because especially if because a lot of people are trying to do this as a stepping stone to get to Marvel or DC or whatever. And honestly, and I've talked to quite a few editors there, they don't care about your splash pages. They don't care about your prints. They don't care about nothing. They want to see if you could tell a story start to finish and it makes sense and it looked good and you are, a professional. And a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people think, well, I can draw this great print. I can draw Spider-Man on this great print. I'm going to just jump in and do a comic book. And they have no idea anything about storytelling. They don't know how to pace a book. They don't know how, how the structure of a story.
Say words, son. Say words.
I mean, it's just, it's like, I mean, and I'm saying this because I've been through that process of having my stuff torn apart. I met up with Axel Alonso. The first book I told you that was terrible, he flipped through it. He tore it apart, but he didn't tear it apart in a bad way. It was like, you need to learn how to do this. You need to learn how to do this. You need to get better at this. And so I took that book and I was like, okay. And then I went and learned, about it. And, a lot of people just don't understand that there's more to comics than just drawing pretty faces. It's a story. So, learn from storyboarding. Storyboarding can help you with storytelling, on so many levels. Watching a movie and thinking, how would I put this scene on a page? Mm-hmm. And then just doing that as an exercise. But, there's a skill involved in this. And it's not just, I'm a talented artist. I mean, you know, you could be a talented artist, but your story don't make no damn sense.
Yeah. So I got to do some real business real quick, Lonzo. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Cool.
I was supposed to do this like 30 minutes ago. We just got to take a real quick. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I didn't
I
do
see
it.
your faces. Don't do that. Man, look, I was enjoying the conversation. But real quick, we're going to take a quick break. Lonzo, we're going to come back to you. So don't forget your thought, bro.
Yes, sir.
What does it mean to feel inspired? To be moved, to be awed, to feel creative. Inspiration. It motivates us. It encourages us to create something epic. And the best part of it all is that it's all around us. Inspiration creates inspiration. Bring your stories to life and inspire your world. Print your comic books with Comics Wellspring.
Man, I'm about to. What does it mean to be inspired? I'm gonna
Well, that was
do some voice
amazing.
over. Like I wasn't prepared. I didn't
Do
see.
they have that?
ahead
Do
of
they have
time.
that gold now? They got that gold on the
I-
You want
Yeah,
the gold trim,
They
Danny?
do. I think they do.
I'm getting
It looks
I'm
fire,
getting
right?
that was better than Love and Thunder.
Oh, we're
Yo.
not. I still haven't seen it yet. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Hey
You
man,
know what?
listen.
So-
you know,
Look,
I
we're not
told
on
you,
the
I
show.
was,
I gotta
I
shoot
told you
something
I was gonna go for a rant on this.
Like,
Y'all
man,
see me on
look.
Thursday. I'm gonna go off.
Anybody comparing the level of craft in Phase 4 to the level of craft in Phase 3,
Please
and
don't let me start.
and
I don't want
not
to start.
the
I
level
don't
of
wanna
craft
start.
in Phase 1, your argument is invalid. I
Invalid.
don't want to hear it.
I promise you, y'all
I
don't want
don't
me to
wanna hear
start. Stay
Ooh,
on topic.
Lord, please.
Well, yeah. What you doing on Thursday? Hey, bro, I'm gonna pop in.
Y'all
I'm gonna pop in
y'all
on
might not
Thursday.
like what I gotta say.
I'm gonna
but
pop in on Thursday. But Lonzo, I don't want to leave you out. I know you had a thought on this in this entire process. We were talking about.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying. I think oftentimes what I see in new writers that reach out is that a lot of people don't know how to pitch. You know how to pitch their story,
Yeah.
and they know the grand scale of like, yo, he's the greatest ever. He's gonna do this and do that, but you got to hook me on why is he doing it though. You know what I mean? He could be the greatest superhero ever, but unless you can attach me to him emotionally, then or him or her emotionally, I'm really not going to be invested. I probably won't see the vision. So I think a lot of people really got to learn how to pitch, and you often see that when you go to Comic Cons and you go to somebody's table,
Facts.
and you ask them, "Yo, tell me about the story," and they just start telling you about power scales and stuff. And you know what I'm saying, and,
Yeah, right.
you
He
know,
can be Goku. Like,
Yeah,
no,
he
like,
could be
yeah, right.
Batman.
he
Yeah.
got
Right.
this in his utility belt. He got a
Yeah.
battle ring for that. So yeah, man, just what I did was I just started practicing writing pitches. So I looked at a lot of like movie write-ups, like how they pitch the movie, you know, how they pitch the Matrix and stuff. And that gave me understanding of how they condensed the whole movie in like 3 sentences. I said, so I just practiced at how to condense, you know, other things into like 2-3 sentences, and you use that as your pitch, man.
You know who's amazing
That
at pitches,
elevator
bro?
pitch, man. That elevator pitch. Yeah.
Your boy Sebastian Jones, bro, for Stranger Comics.
Man.
Now I've bought everything from him. Like off top, before I even got into the industry, I love this stuff. I bought everything that he has. Somehow, this dude convinces me to buy something else every time I'm there because it's so engaging. And I even tell him, like, bro, stop, don't pitch me nothing because I'm gonna buy it. Like, leave me alone. You know I have everything. I don't want nothing new. But he brings you into all of that.
That's
I want to say real
though, 'cause
quickly.
That's how you get. That's where you gonna get most of your audience from Comic Cons. That's real. Like, I had to do that elevator pitch, that one line pitch. That this meets this.
Yeah, and one
That's all it takes.
Again, with the algorithm being what it is, man, those email lists are important. You know what I mean? Like your own direct outreach is super important. I want to say one thing as a creator tip, as a pure writer here, and I say that as a pure writer because my degree is in creative writing, right? Like I'm a colorist now. I didn't start as an artist at all. All of my everything is writing scripts, screenplays, novels, the whole deal. Learn how to write and be humble enough when somebody tells you it's wrong. Because a lot of times, and this is more my editing hat, right? A lot of times, I've had this talk with Lonzo, I've had this talk with Morgan, I've had this talk with Danny. Not that they've done it, but I always tell them whenever I'm editing for somebody and I ask a question and they go, "But what you don't understand is," then I will immediately tell them, "Oh, you're wrong. Then you're wrong at that point." Because if I'm asking a question and you're telling me I don't understand, that means it's not in the story anywhere. And there's no context for me to figure it out. A lot of newer writers or newer authors, when they're trying to create mystery, they just leave stuff out. Oh, well, you didn't know that they was friends from 20,000 years ago. Well, okay, did you give me any context so I could have figured it out? Oh, you just didn't say it. So that's not mysterious. That's just missing information. You learn how you can break a rule once you know the rule. If you don't know the rule and you're breaking it, you're likely breaking it incorrectly. There are always quote unquote correct ways to break a rule so that it still follows your brain reads different than you're saying. I know a lot of people want or try to put AAVE in their comics now, and I'm a big proponent of it when it makes sense. But your brain is going to read something different than the nuance of how we say it here, right? Like Morgan, look, that latest episode, not latest, but that issue of Miles Morales Thor, right? What if he's Thor? Shows you everything. That's me doing the raise the roof right now, right? Like it's dated, it's stereotypical, blah blah blah. We can joke about it because I did it live here. There's nuance to it. When you put that down in writing, you are not respecting the craft of writing, and you're not respecting the people that you are trying to write for. So again, as a writer, as a pure writer, you've definitely got to study and learn how to write. Even if you're writing, look, start doing flash fiction. That's 500 words. That's nothing, right? Like it can be anything, but it just hones. It's just like anything else. Somebody starts shooting free throws, they suck at first, but if they're doing 100 free throws a day, they're eventually going to get good at free throws. Writing, artistry, all this stuff is the same thing. Some people have natural proclivities to it. But at the same time, you can learn all of that if you put your mind to it and if you try.
Someone asked me, how do you know it's a comic, right? Why is it not a novel? Why haven't you put this in a poem? Why is this a comic book? And I think asking your question that's your pitch. That goes in your pitch. Why do we need to see this world, right? And I think Danny with Ace Blade, because I got back when the Kickstarter, I got the novel too and the comic, and I see why you turn that into a comic, because that's something that needs to be seen. That needs to be visually seen. And so what you see is a lot of stories that you can put it in an essay, really. You know what I mean? And so you have to ask yourself, why do you want to make it a comic book?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to say something when you were talking about how Danny, go ahead, man.
No, I'm just saying you got Comics Wellspring on the chat. Like,
I mean, once Brett is gone, you know what I'm saying? Then I can let the dogs loose. And no. Comics Wellspring, I see they're always in here, man. They're great, and I've said it before. Like I've worked with these dudes personally. They shot me. I shot them a DM because I was lost on trying to do my trade paperback. I was like, "What's the format and the template?" And they were like, it's on the website. We told you. But here you go, right? No, they're really good guys. They'll show you everything. They'll walk you through the process. Yeah. They're efficient, man. Their deliveries are fire. Yeah. I've never had any bent books or any, you know what I mean? Like they're just 100% top notch, and I really mess with them heavy. They're really great guys. So great company.
I just talked with them today, man. I appreciate them.
Yeah.
Just talk with them. But I was going to say, when you talked about writing and how you have to write a lot and if you had to ask a question, then you didn't write it well. And I'm speaking from an artist's perspective. Very, very similarly, if you draw a page and I can't understand what's happening just without any words, that's not good storytelling. You should be able to read a book start to finish and have some idea of what is happening. You might not know the detail that's in the dialogue, but you should at least be able to tell the story like start to finish. That's like one of the main things that every artist that I've spoken to tells me. They're like, dude, if I can't read your book without words, you know what I mean? Like, then you're failing.
Yeah, 100%. Danny, were you gonna say something? You look like you're chomping at the bit.
No, I was thinking earlier when Tyler was talking, when you were talking about that question also. I think us as creators sometimes we can know our character so well that it's hard for us to, it can be harder for us to write because we know everything in our brains, but we have to, like you said, we have to show it in the stories. Like we have to show why the connections matter. We have to show how they got to the point that they are in our brains. And because like me and Morgan, we got literally 20 years of content in our brains for these characters. So, you know, we need an editor. We need somebody to say, pull it back a little bit. Like, bro, don't go ahead and introduce the sidekick. Like, don't you telling another story right now. Don't do that yet. Give it some time. So I think that's why I was talking earlier about having an editor and at least having somebody that you can run stuff past who thinks differently, because it helps the story.
So I want to finish up with this last question from Brad Arney because without doubt, and I don't even know, obviously I'm not in you guys' campaign, but I know Brad has supported all of us. I'm 100% sure this dude supports every indie comic project that comes across his
Brad is a
desk.
freaking man, bro.
He said, when you came up with your ideas for your books, did you know right away that this story was the story that you wanted to pursue? He's come up with numerous ideas, but within a few days I find fault with them and they get scrapped. I want to start this one off because I want to end with you guys. I'm going to say, look, write the crappy story. I feel like every writer you have a story in you, right? But like it's the bad story. It's the one that you want to get rid of. You're working out your teenage angst. You're working out the person who bullied you in high school. You're working out all these feelings. And once you get that out, then you're able to do the real ideas. I know all of us have multiple projects. I started with novel writing and I still love novel writing. But once I got into comics, I realized that my audience grew. People liked my comic writing more than they liked my novel writing, right? So that doesn't mean that project goes away. That just means that it's kind of on the back burner and I do one as my main focus. Also, if you find faults with your projects, likely that means they're humans, right? Like that means that these things are organic. If you have a structural problem, that's different. You need to solve that. But if you're talking about you have a story problem or you have a fault, that's more than likely good storytelling, man. Get somebody you can bounce these ideas off of and they can kind of shore it up for you. I feel like comic book creation is like creating a sword, bro. You got to beat that metal down a bunch of times and you got to forge it and forge it and forge it. And then you come up with something good. I'm going to use real quick my last thing. I'm going to use Tyler as an example. Tyler has been successful since I've known him in the business, right? But he wasn't antagonist successful, right? People knew who Mega Woman was, right? People knew who was. God, I want to say Blind Shot now, and I know that's wrong. God, Sharpshooter. I knew it was some shot somewhere, right? So people had seen Sharpshooter, right? It's got the time cover, so like these are iconic kind of images. People know it visually, but is it at the success level that the antagonist was? No. So that doesn't mean that they're faulty or anything. That just means this is the one that the public gravitated to. But all of your stories, Brad, in case no one ever tells you this, right? And no matter how good or bad or whatever they are all your stories are valid. All you have to do is, if you want the public to recognize them, is do it in a certain format that's digestible for them. And that is the difference between someone who continues to create or somebody who kind of gets buried in the emotions of creating. Okay, so sorry, my little rant there.
You can drop the curtain right there, brother.
Yeah, brother. Turn my camera off.
It's over.
Yeah, right. Without further ado, I'm gonna pass it to Morgan now. All right, like yeah.
So I definitely agree with Brian. I think like when I think of where my story idea started for Lumberjacks versus where it is now. Oh my God. Because you gotta remember, like I didn't grow up reading comics. You know what I'm saying? I didn't grow up reading comics. I was like Danny, like I watched I watched cartoons, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that, but I did not grow up reading comics. And now looking back on it, I'm jealous, but at the same time, I also feel like it's I don't want to say it's an advantage, but the way that I feel like it's an advantage is I can't copy somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's I don't have prior archetypes to be like, oh, that's like this story, you know, and I can craft it after that. But you know, it takes time at times to start crafting that stuff, which is like what Brian was talking about with beating the metal. Because like with Lumberjacks, with Harlem, with Solitary, with the audio podcast that me and Danny have done, like we've gone through whole periods. Like we had a period where we were writing like Brian was talking about 500 word stories on Wattpad. Me and Danny. Like literally when we first started doing the podcast, we did our second season. We wrote. I would write something, then Danny wrote something that I had to respond to whatever it was and continue the story. There's mad ways for you to continue to work those muscles and continue to build those stories. And just because that original idea, I'll say this: don't scrap those ideas, because one of those ideas might be whatever hit you think it needs to be. It just needed a different infusion, a different inspiration, a different, you know what I'm saying? Like you never know what the missing piece is, but if you scrap it all together, because one of the biggest things that I do now is if I get a dope idea or I don't care if it's a piece of the idea, I put it in my notes right now, because if I don't, I'm going to forget. I know how my brain works. So I'm going to forget and I'll just put it in there. But even if you have all of those scraps, you might have a whole universe right there sitting with a really dope story that you just have to figure out how to put together. And that can come over time. And especially going back to the genuine relationships, when you have people out here, especially you, Brad, I mean, you supported, I don't know anybody in the indie comic community that you have.
Everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you have multiple people that you can reach out to, and I'm more than sure people will read it and give you, at the very least, feedback and be like, I would do this, or I would look at this, or whatever. Like, you're in a really unique position to be able to do that because you already have the genuine relationships, because you've already been supported. Like, so I guarantee you got gems in there. You just do not throw them away. Like, wherever you ball the paper up, I hope you're not actually writing on paper. That's another thing that I've run into.
And let them write on paper.
Hey, man, if you don't get to a Google Doc and quit playing around,
I'm telling you, Google Drive has saved me. Google Docs has saved me and Danny's lives on so many levels. It's insane. So, I mean, that's what I would say. Like, a lot of, take those scraps, because literally you might have a really dope story in it that's just missing the infusion. Because for me, this is my last thing. To me, your story is only as good as your villain. Like, if your villain sucks, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. I don't care about the story like that. If you're just here to tell me the hero, but there's no actual,
it's good to be bad, right?
Yeah, no, but that's one of the reasons that I knew that was gonna go, because of the angle he was coming from. It was the angle Tyler was telling the story from. Don't get it twisted. Do not copy Tyler and try to, like, you know what I'm saying, do the whole villain. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but
no, do that.
I was about to come with the unlikables real quick. So I was Willis Comics 2023, the unlikables. You know what I'm saying? Come on,
don't
man.
do that. But yeah,
we need more villain stories.
It might be some dope stuff in there. Don't scrap those stories. Just keep them in your notes, and I guarantee you, an idea hit you that probably infused that project.
I won't take as long as Morgan, but I'll say. I'll say
With friends like y'all.
For me,
I'm talking for like 15 minutes.
It's my show.
Don't get mad at the host for talking. What you doing?
Right now.
Right. Wait a minute. See,
right. No,
go ahead and.
I'll do it. No. For me, it's the one that you always go back to. For me, I heard somebody say a long time ago, if you get bored with your story, most likely other people are gonna get bored with it too. So it's like kind of like, my lovely wife. We met when we were 17. We parted ways for a little while, and then I just kept coming back because I knew she was the one for me. So if you keep going back to the story, it's probably one that you should hold on to, and that's how I will pick up to it.
Well,
I was trying to see where you were going with that.
Your life on
I was trying to see where you were going with that. I was like, all right, man.
I know what I'm doing.
Leading your way.
I'm hero mine. I know what I'm doing.
Don't you ever say that again.
He's got a knife on. You got a knife pointed at his.
I know.
Right there.
My sister is not to be played with, sir.
There's a katana blade right near Danny's head, just right on the
not to be
street.
played with, because I'm telling you, she's from Durham. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I guess for me, I would say don't scrap anything, because you will eventually make your way back to it. You know, like I'm just like Danny and Morgan have said. I've got a ton of ideas that are just on in my phone or on my computer or whatever, and they always kind of make their way back around at some point. The book I just did, the Kickstarter for Strong that I just did, was a story that I initially pushed to the side, and then eventually it made itself back around, came back around because I found the hook for it. Like I wasn't even trying to think of the hook for it; it just came to me, and so I was like, "All right, cool, I got the hook. Let me go finish the book." So that's what I would just say, like, don't scrap anything, because there's really like no such thing as like a bad idea, right? Because it's just an idea that you haven't figured out how to work right yet, you know. Because there are a lot of books who, you know, there are a lot of hooks. Like we talk about the antagonists, we talk about Lumberjacks, Ace Blade, Heat, you talking about Acolyte. All y'all got hooks. And I bet like you had an idea of what you wanted to do, but when that hook hit, it was like, okay, bet, I got it. And then it just like, you know, everything kind of flowed from there. Like I'm speaking for y'all, but I'm assuming because I kind of went through the same thing. So yeah, just like hold on to all your ideas and just keep working at them. You know, you don't got to do it every day, but like, you know, the ideas will come to you, and then eventually like one of them will spark your passion. And then, you know, it should set off that fire.
Yeah, I'll send Brad. I'll send you a picture of. I drew a picture of Destructus and Ultima, the parents in the antagonist series. I drew a picture of them in 7th grade, right? I created them in 7th grade, and they were white, of course, right? But I created them in 7th grade, and if I had scrapped that idea, I just knew just a duo of supervillains. That's when I wrote when I created them. I don't see me like that was my backup, right? So that's how the antagonist was so easily constructed, because I already had that idea. And yeah, to everybody's point, just picking back on everybody else that went so far, no idea is a bad idea. And here's the story, and this is how you run this is how you know you found your story, right? All of us want to write stories for other people, want to make people happy, want people to like our work. But I think I wrote the antagonist for me, right? Because I didn't see Black people are already villainized every day, and I didn't see that in any story, and I wanted to do that. So once you have to be your own number one fan, right?
Yeah.
The story that you fall in love with, the story that you can't get sleep over because you are in bed thinking about it, you're dreaming about it. Hell, I got the antagonist on my arm, bro. You know, the story you're a fan of, that's the story that you're gonna boom, exactly. King Supreme, exactly. That's the story. Lumberjack, exactly, bro. Exactly.
I ain't got that conviction, but that's great for you guys.
Right, that guy.
I'm not
that's
getting
the story, bro. That's the story, Brad, that you want to stick to. And I'll leave you at this: when you know, right? No matter what it is, when you got that story, you got that story. But don't ever scrap any ideas, because that's how you build that universe that everybody wants to build. In order to have a universe, you need thousands of characters, and you've got those. So.
What's going on, Daryl? Yeah. Lonzo?
Well, yeah, for sure, man. It's funny that Tyler said that, because I was literally gonna say, you know, when I made and created Acolyte, I literally made him for me, like something I was looking for, that I wanted to read, something that I could relate to. I wanted a character that I felt like I wanted to be. That's why I wrote Acolyte. But to be honest, man, I feel like when people are creating, sometimes they think too much of what other people are gonna think, and rather than believing and loving in what they're doing themselves, man, because it's really not the product. Like, the product is a big part of it. You got to believe in the product got to be good, but it's really, who are you trying to sell this to? It's not really, you know, not everybody's gonna read Acolyte, not everybody's gonna read Antagonist, not everybody's gonna read these things. But if you know who you're targeting, you good, man. That's really all it is. Your story can be about marshmallows jumping over candy canes. There's gonna be somebody that's gonna read that like, yo, this is dope, man. This is what I've been dreaming about my whole life. You know what I mean?
There are multiple cartoons.
Exactly.
I was gonna say, what's the name of that comic book? Dog Man or whatever.
Bro,
That's like the highest
man.
selling comic book.
Do you know some of the biggest Kickstarters? Some of the biggest Kickstarters I've seen on Kickstarters are stuff like that. Like I'm talking about
God,
you go on there
Don't
and it's
sleep on
artwork.
Don't sleep on Dogman, bro. It's
Hey,
solid.
I'm just saying, dude. Like
that's all I'm
hey.
saying, man. It's really like, don't beat yourself up too much, man. Just create, put it in a booklet. Once you know where you want to start, it's really where you want to start. All them characters you created, they could be fine. It's just who you're gonna pick to start it off with. I knew I wanted to start off with Acolyte. I got tons of characters. Acolyte was the one I wanted to start with because I knew where I was going to go with him and how he could bring in everybody else. Yeah. And don't beat yourself up, man. Just keep creating, bro, and start that project, man, for sure.
Yeah. I will say one of my biggest pet peeves too, bro, when you see somebody who's like, "Oh yeah, man, we're gonna drop #1 next year in 2023. We got 300 characters. We got, bro. No one wants to see that. There's not a single person in the world that wants to see your 300 characters in an issue 1 next year. I know. And if you find that one person, bring them to me, please.
I'll even one up and say, originally you need to tell yourself that no one wants to read your book.
Exactly.
Right? You need to convince yourself that 100%. No one wants to read this, right? And our job as creators is make sure we want to read it, and also making sure that in that pitch that this is why you need to. When you take a comic book, and I always say, I was just in a class the other day. I said a good comic book is going to appeal to all your 5 senses, right? When you open up a comic book, there's a reason to read it right there. Yeah. It needs to appeal to you, all your senses. So yeah, when you don't set yourself up for failure. Like, you need to assume all your shit is bad. I do that. Yeah. Assuming, even though we all know that none of our shit is bad, but we assume. Yeah. I'm like, people might not like this, right? Mm-hmm. And I think just again going back to creating it for the right reason.
Yeah, yeah, 100.
I would say I would go even further and say I write my stories because it's something that I think is cool. Mm-hmm. Like, if somebody else thinks it's cool, great. Like, if I can sell you and convince you that this is good, awesome. If you read it, and great. But if I read my own story and I don't like it, then I ain't gonna do it, and I'm not gonna dedicate that time to it. So, like, if I don't have a passion for my story, then nobody else is gonna have a passion for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's full fact.
Agree.
What'd you say?
I said,
and your fans will be able to tell. Your supporters will be able to tell if you don't fuck with this book. And you can tell by somebody's Kickstarter. You can tell how people present in Kickstarter. I can go to a Kickstarter, there's people asking me to back, and I see that you don't even care about the Kickstarter. There ain't no characters on here, ain't no artwork, ain't no page displays. You ain't take time to write notes. There's nothing about this story that you took the time. And so to me, you don't like your book, so I'm not gonna back it.
Yeah. Yep.
People can tell when you're trying to sell it to them at cons too.
God knows.
If you look bored, if you ain't got no energy,
I'm telling you, bro. Cons will make a man out of you, bro. Between cons and Kickstarters, Kickstarters. That's why I said what I said in the beginning from the first question. Those genuine relationships will save your life, especially on Kickstarters, because if you do not have a base, and we have bases. All of us have bases of people that are supporting us on every campaign, and that is a huge blessing. It really is. It's huge, but you do not start there.
No.
And
even with these bases, we still, all of us have had a moment where we've sweated something. It don't 100%. Like we could pretend like we don't, because some of us have had some pretty high goals, on and on and on. But nah, we've all been like, look, I need my other 150, you know what I mean, people to show up and drop this $20.
Hey,
and it ain't gonna be family and friends. It's
right?
Friends.
No.
Our last antagonist Kickstarter did $26,000. I got $5 from a family member.
I'm telling you,
one family member.
Even at cons, man. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I still get nervous before every con. I still get nervous before the Kickstarter. But you know what I mean? I feel like a con to me is like a basketball game, man. Like, it's confidence now. Like I don't care about the no's. I know I'm gonna get some yeses here. So
Yes,
if
sir.
I, you know what I mean, don't. Some people get
What's up,
affected
Deb?
by the no's at cons.
Yeah.
I mean, a no can really throw somebody off. Like, dang, bro, you gonna say no to me, man? You know what?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, what I mean,
You muted.
You on mute, Tyler?
Tyler done dropped a bunch of knowledge, and he's
I
hella
know, he
muted.
I know, man.
He just
I
going.
agree.
in.
I hear
Might
you
have-
going
He
might
off,
does
Tyler.
go. So
He was
Might
going.
answer the call.
Lonzo, I'm with you. Like with cons, for me, is very much like you don't
yeah.
you have no idea how many books you about to sell. I don't care if you did this
Yeah.
con before. I don't care if you
God knows
know
that's
you
true.
know you I don't care if you from that neighborhood. Like you
Yeah,
got
you
no
just never
idea.
know. Yeah.
So you just basically you going in like, all
That's what
right,
it
I
is,
got to
man.
do the best I can. And
You just can't be affected by the nose, man. Like
Yeah.
every person is a new person. Don't bring the energy from what the last customer did or how they looked at
That's
your product.
Yeah.
Just be like, all right, thank you.
Yeah,
And-
cool. Keep it
And
deuces. Yeah, exactly.
Keep it moving,
Yeah.
man. Keep it to
And
the
that energy though, that
what
energy
it is.
that you bring for that yes,
Mhm.
sometimes that no sees it,
Yeah.
and you
Oh,
can
for
turn
sure.
that no into a yes. They
Yeah.
might come
Sure.
back around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. I say, man, that everybody, if anybody says no, I still give them a free flyer. I'd be like, yo, thanks for stopping by, man. You know what I mean?
100%.
I say, you know what I mean, I give love to the nose because that love sometimes makes them second guess, like, you know what, I'm gonna support you because I like how you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if it's the first day. Like if it, because like a lot of cons, especially depending on like we just did Heroes Con in Charlotte, and we had multiple people that came by the table early, like that Friday. And you learn that stuff over time where you can kind of tell by look,
Yeah.
you can tell, you know what I'm saying? You could tell by certain stuff like who's actually feeling your, you know, some people will walk by your table and give it a quick up and down, literally. And you have no idea whether, you know what I'm saying? And I'm so analytical that I'm thinking like, I can't tell you how many times at that con I told Danny, I was like, bruh, I'm trying to figure out what in our display we could change, but you know what I'm saying? You never lose the thought. I do it with a Kickstarter. We launched Lumberjacks and I was right by the goal in like the first, I think 3 days, but in my head, we should have got there faster. So I'm like, bruh, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, bruh, maybe I should change this. Maybe I should put this picture up. Maybe let me go put, you know what I'm saying? I'm always doing that. You never get to a point where you're not doing it. You know what I'm saying? So that stuff can't make you nervous. And that I agree with Lonzo 1,000,000%. Whether it's a con, whether it's Kickstarter, you know what I'm saying? And I also believe heavily in crowdsourcing too. Like finding a group of people, especially consumers, that you can go to and be like, hey, yo, what do you think about this? And and be able to take that feedback to make your product better. You know what I'm saying? You have to have thick skin. But if you're sensitive,
Cons ain't the thing for you.
Hey, stay out of them comment section, y'all. Seriously.
Yeah, right.
Like
yeah,
no joke.
yeah.
Like
Cons will break you, man, for sure. Like especially when you're next to somebody that's killing it. You know what I mean? You never know. My first table, I was next to TJ Sterling, man. Come
on! You mean Jedi Master TJ Sterling?
TJ was wilding at that table.
Yeah.
I got to look and watch how he did it.
Yeah.
And all we had was posters at our table at that time too. It was my first table. All we had was posters, notebooks, and them posters was flying off because we was energetic. We believed in our stuff. We were genuinely like people feed off of your energy when you're at the con. Like too often you'll go to a con and see somebody like this drawing at it.
Yep.
And they phone.
Bruh.
You're not even looking up at the customer. You know what I'm saying?
The worst is when they like this.
Yeah. Bro.
Yeah,
man, and I get it. Some people are socially awkward or they may be nervous as hell. You know what I mean? To talk to strangers, but if you go into a con, that's literally what you're doing.
that's a part of it. Yeah,
You gotta find somebody who can speak passionately about your project if you can't do it.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, and I gotta give Lonzo his props, man. And I gotta go too. And Danny just wrote us in the message. He's like, "Y'all need to shut the hell up. We gotta go." But,
I was saying the same thing. I was like, last comment.
No, we're lucky we didn't already see this.
I'm shocked.
Right.
We're very lucky.
Yeah.
I saw Alonzo at Atlanta Comic Con, and man, that motherfucker didn't sit down at all. And he was, he was right in front of me, him and his team, and he didn't sit down, man. And I took that energy with us, and I think me me and Lonzo, at least in our section, man, our tables was lit, man. You had the white folks over there was like, what the hell they got going on over there?
Yeah, man, for sure. They got
I
real
never
down there,
sit, man. I never sit, dude.
Danny will tell
Hey,
you,
listen,
I
man,
don't sit
things-
down ever, bro. If I sit down, it's because my feet are literally about
Yeah.
to fall
Yeah,
off.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And I just take a short break and
fun.
I get right back up. If anybody comes by that table and gives me half a look, I'm standing up because
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
sitting down because to me, if you're sitting, they're reading your energy, man. And if you're sitting down, they not excited because you're not excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
gentlemen,
if it's done right, cons can make you a lot of money though. And if it's
Oh
done
True.
right,
yeah.
True.
I mean,
Yeah.
you go on a tour, cons can definitely be a valuable piece to this whole puzzle right here.
Yeah. So Danny told us it's time to cut the show. So we got to listen to Danny. Sorry we took up so much time. Most of it was spent on Tyler's bio and then on Morgan. So those guys. No, but hey, honestly, like I said, man, this show was very important to me. So I appreciate you guys for coming on and sharing your insights and dropping the jewels that you guys did. Anybody who's out there, if you're listening, or we're going to play this back. It's going to be on the podcast, on the ICD podcast, and within a week. It's on YouTube now. You can play it back. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of knowledge dropped here. Once again, thank you for Comic Wellspring for sponsoring Indie Comics Dispatch. Thank you to all our Patreons. Don't forget to check out Fourth Wall Pros. Don't forget to check out Visually Stoked Media, Concrete Comics, Godhood Comics, Wingless Comics. We are all out here and all doing it every day, all day. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good night.
And stream Clark Kent, Lonzo Star.
There it is.
With the plug.